My name is Carl Beal. I'm an economist, economic historian, and professor emeritus in Indigenous Studies. I've worked with First Nations to assist in the determination of compensation for loss of use with claims from British Columbia to Nova Scotia. I've taught courses in the history of land claim processes and in land claims compensation. I was asked by the Listagouche negotiation team to assist in the determination of compensation for the loss of use of the Listagouche lands, in particular the Man-Fraser estate, the Bastide lands, which I understand will soon be returned, and the Mission lands, most of which have already been returned. There have been two approaches taken to determining loss of use in various kinds of land claims. The one that's been used for the longest period are the historical sector-specific studies. The different uses that the land can be put to at various time periods are looked at. Agriculture, forestry, fishing stations, industrial, commercial, and residential uses of the land. And then separate studies are carried out to determine what income could have been earned from each of those activities on each acre of the land in each year, from the date the land is taken down to the present. With several studies, obviously, time and money are considerations. More importantly, in this case, with a claim going back to the 1780s and perhaps earlier, the problem is one of finding data, finding information on how much income was actually earned on each parcel of land in each year. This difficulty of determining compensation in long-lived claims has led to the development of another approach. This approach is developed over the last decade, and it's called the generic land rental model, or Canada calls it the proxy for a rental model. In this case, we have an insight that land that has a high value has that high value because it has the ability to earn lots of income. Land with a low price, a low value, has that low value because its earning potential is less. Understanding the relationship between land value and the return to economic activity on the land allows us to develop a model where we estimate the land value in each and every year, and we apply to that land value a percentage, a rental rate of return, to estimate the losses in each year as a percentage of land value to represent the loss of economic opportunity. I've been involved in more than a dozen claims where this approach has been looked at, considered, sometimes adopted, and sometimes rejected. In my experience, this approach can provide a fair and reasonable estimate of compensation as long as several things are done. Well, first we have to establish the dates from which losses begin. In many respects, this is a legal question. When did Canada's legal liability for the loss of the lands kick in? Was it 1780 or 1880? Obviously, the earlier the breach date, the longer the period of losses and the higher the compensation for the loss of use. How many acres are in each of the parcels? Does Canada acknowledge the parcel size that Listagouche thinks is appropriate, or does it suggest a smaller acreage? So the question of acres also has to be determined. A third issue that arose in this negotiation was, how do we adjust for land value in years between the initial taking of the land and the current land value? If we acknowledge land appreciation appropriately, then we can estimate the loss of use more effectively. If we ignore land appreciation, just keep land value at whatever it was in 1787, it doesn't matter whether we have a high or low rental rate of return, it's not going to generate much in the way of losses. In these negotiations, the Listegouche team was able to convince Canada of the importance of taking some account of land appreciation, and that also contributed to improving the compensation picture. The last item that was a major item of contention was how to identify a present value for each and every loss in previous years. Canada's view was that Listegouche people would not have saved all the earnings in each and every year, but would have consumed some. And Canada wanted to base compounding, investing and earning interest and interest on the interest, on the basis of an assumption of a fairly high consumption rate and a fairly low reinvestment rate. Listegouche presented both legal and logical arguments for full compound interest. But in the end, reaching a negotiated settlement required some accommodation from both parties. And at the end of the day, I think that the process resulted in Canada tripling its $21 million offer to some $60 million. I think that the Listegouche-Micmac government, the negotiation team, the advisors to the table, brought good data, good information, conducted negotiations very effectively, and in the end were able to secure this tripling of Canada's original offer. It's been a privilege to have had the opportunity to work with LMG, with the negotiation team, with the other expert advisors in this case, and I wish the community well in making a good decision on how to go forward with this offer.